Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Shane.
And this is Race Per Minute.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5th instalment of our F1 2022 launch reaction series. Today we'll be talking about the AlphaTauri Formula 1 team, the AT03. We'll cover the launch itself, any technical information we've discovered since the launch, and what we think of the slightly new livery for the AlphaTauri. So, jumping into the launch itself, we were presented with a sub 3 minute video, which we eventually got to the AT03, and the new livery. Now, this video, it was always going to be a bit odd, wasn't it? It was always going to be AlphaTauri-esque. We've come to realise over the last couple of years that their fashion is a big thing for AlphaTauri, which is fine. Each to their own. It's not for me, and I was kind of expecting a bit of a fashion show, but what we got for the first 75 seconds was a very futuristic kind of AI technological. I don't know how you really describe it, Alex. What's going on in that first half of the video? It's just lots of AI and robots and, well, maybe not robots, but artificial intelligence. We had this big thing which changed shape, and it was all a bit much, wasn't it?
I liked it. I enjoyed this one. There's clearly, maybe there's some Stargate SG-1 fans at AlphaTauri. That's what it reminded me of. This very CGI heavy launch video that they went for. They had a steering wheel being put into some kind of monolith, but then transforms into crystals, and that becomes people, and then they walk through the Stargate to become the models. And as expected, we did get our quick sort of fashion walk, didn't we?
Yes.
Which, if you are inclined to spend £180 on a T-shirt, then you can check that out.
Well, I mean, F1 merchandise is expensive, but that is something else.
Well, that's fashion stuff. It's not like the F1 merchandise, but that's the sort of the fashion T-shirts.
It's just fashion.
Thing. I guess they're one and the same for AlphaTauri, but
true.
But yeah, the whole tone of it, it has this fashion from technology message underpinning it, obviously, and the whole tone of it is, as I said before, and as I expected it would be, is very otherworldly. And it's deliberately a non-relatable style of presentation.
Yeah.
Because all the other teams are just we're just going to have a little chat with the drivers, and hey, we're going to take a question from a fan now. It's all very sort of get involved, and we're like your mates on TV. Not AlphaTauri. No, they are interdimensional. They are interdimensional cyber beings who travel through the Stargate to sell you some outrageously priced knitwear, and that's just the way it is. And they're not here to sort of be all friendly. They're here to stare at the camera in a sort of slightly unhuman way. And I kind of like that, I gotta say.
It was definitely different. It made more sense to me once they had gone through this portal and all these AI robot things started to take shape into actual people. And then you saw the fashion come through. As soon as I saw one or two people walk through, initially I thought it was going to be the two drivers, but no, it was normal people coming through and then dressed in AlphaTauri style clothing. And I was like, this is where we're getting into the fashion part of the video. And then eventually the car drove itself through, and then we had Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. So, and then obviously they looked really comfortable because, they're wearing all these brand new clothes. I mean, it just looks, for me, it looked a little bit uncomfortable. They looked a little bit like, I'm forced to wear this kind of stuff. I don't really want to, but it's AlphaTauri and I've got to drive their Formula 1 car. So, hey,
they did look very stylish, though.
I'm sure it's stylish. Maybe my sense of fashion is so far non-existent. I was just watching this going,
you can't tell.
I don't know. I mean, if you've watched the podcast for the last couple of years, I probably fluctuate between this fleece and a couple of other jumpers, and that's about it for me. But
I mean, I can't talk either. But
we're well-kept people, especially with our hair going through lockdown, etc. But yeah, it was interesting. I quite enjoyed the fact that it was 3 minutes. It was a quick launch. It got straight to eventually. It's hard to say it didn't get straight to the point because it was only 3 minutes. So we got to the point, and that was it. It was all wrapped up. And later on in the day, we've seen some renders of the car in various locations, which is great. No actual real photos at the moment, as far as I'm aware. It's all been renders, and so that's the launch itself. Is there anything technical we can talk about with the AlphaTauri? Because it is all digital renders at the moment. We can have a look at the side pods and get some more photos up.
Well, if we take a look at because it's all just CGI stuff and renders and the like at the moment. If we can just sort of take it at face value, because it does appear to be kind of different. It's not exactly the show car, is it? It is actually different. It has a very long nose, and unlike a lot of the other, one thing that is sort of similar to the show car, and maybe it's because it is an unaltered wing. It's a more sort of literal take on the dummy car that we saw. It has that front plate of the wing attached to the front of the nose, whereas all the other teams have like the second one along attached to the wing, and the first one kind of hangs underneath that. So they've kind of gone for something like that, and it definitely looks more elongated than the other show cars that we've seen. But again, that may not be the final thing. But the most striking thing about it is probably the very high up intakes on those side pods with a big sort of undercut underneath them that sweeps back to the rear of the car. It's quite a different approach to what we've seen so far. Like they're there, but they don't sort of bulge out and then sweep back in a sort of Coke bottle shape like we've seen before, like with the McLaren or the Haas, for example. They do sweep back, but they just have this weird sort of undercut under the intake, which is unusual, and that's definitely not show car material. So
that's definitely their design, isn't it?
How that works. Yeah.
Do you think we can take anything from the AlphaTauri and maybe apply it to the Red Bull? Because the Red Bull's car was completely a show car, without a doubt. It was what was released 2 years ago for the new regs, and they've just put their livery on it. But this is, like you said, this is so different to anything we've seen in the previous 4 launches. And even compared to the Williams, which obviously we're recording this a couple of days afterwards because we've been busy, even it's different to the Williams. So this is almost like the third different design we've seen this year, where it's been quite a high side pod intake, and then it drops below into the rear, which is it's interesting. I quite like the way it curves, and it's not too bulky at the back either. It's very interesting. I'm just very curious to see how, if Red Bull have gone anything, if Red Bull have done anything similar, which I'm sure we'll find out within a week.
What we might be able to draw on is the rear of the car, because obviously AlphaTauri uses the same gearboxes and rear suspension as Red Bull, so there might be some similarities there, but there's nothing that kind of obvious that sticks out to me. I mean, I don't necessarily know the technical side looking at it like that, but what stuck out to me is how different those side pods look, and the sort of the front wing setup is interesting as well. But like you say, this is another interpretation of the rules, which is very interesting. It's very encouraging to see so many different approaches to it. And AlphaTauri have got their own little thing going on here. I know that Franz Tost in the sort of press releases described the car as something very special. Which is quite a big claim from a man who is, I would say, quite hard to please. He's quite a demanding fellow, is Franz Tost, and rightly so, because they have very high standards at that team. So it's interesting how this will be different to the others. I do also note that they have a new sponsor on the end plates of the front wing.
Is that the
Flexbox? They're a shipping container company, so I assume that will help them with logistics, and because they have a base in Faenza, and I think they have one in the UK as well. So they presumably have to ship a bunch of stuff. So I guess it will help them with that. So it's a sort of partner with them for that. It's sort of quite a sticking out sponsor, because it has those sort of big orange X's, which are very much in contrast to the rest of the livery, which is decidedly two-tone and simple, and sort of has that stylistic look to it. So that was something else that I noticed on the car as well.
There was a significant lack of sponsors, where we've seen some other cars where they've had sponsors along the side pod and on the rear wing and across the front wing. Whether this is, these are obviously just digital renders, but there's just AlphaTauri everywhere. It's just everywhere. And like all the smaller sponsors, like you said, are on the end plates or the wing or even on the nose. I mean, they can fit a lot of sponsors on that nose if they wanted to, because it's so long. But just as a general appearance, there seems to be a lack of sponsors across the whole car. It's just AlphaTauri and then a handful of smaller ones.
Well, Well, it is a vehicle for, pun intended, for sort of
AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri. So
Yeah,
just
that
like
is
Red Bull, it is just sort of that is the thing that it's for, really. So
Yeah,
I guess
but
that
even
makes
Red
sense.
Bull now have something on the side pod, don't they? They have something different to the traditional Red Bull. I can't remember what their
Yeah.
new sponsor is. This is really bad. I spent half an hour listening to a presentation about their sponsor, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah,
well.
they have the sort of Red Bull money behind them, I
Yeah.
suppose, so they can afford to just throw themselves into it. But
Oracle, that was it.
Yeah, Oracle is the new title sponsor for them. Yeah, so yeah, not a whole lot to say technically, really, because just without being able to see the car for certain, we can only take the renders on face value. So not too much to look at that, but it'll be interesting. I believe they're doing a shakedown or have done a shakedown, and if they have done it, they've kept it very quiet. But
I don't know. I know Alfa Romeo may have, and they ran like a camo livery in their private shakedown. But as for AlphaTauri, I'm not too sure. I'm just looking through their Twitter feed now, and I think it all very much looks like digital renders, like you would take off a photograph of a car in a nice location on a video game. That's what it kind of looks like at the moment. But they clearly just want to keep it under wraps for the time being, which doesn't surprise me with their partnership with the Red Bull team.
Okay, so what about the livery then, Shane? What do you think of the latest evolution of a now sort of familiar AlphaTauri design?
I quite like it. I think it's neat. I think it's tidy. I like the two-tone. I think it looks smart. I didn't think they needed to change much because they're already trying to establish their own kind of livery style and brand. And I loved last year's, especially with the white rims. It looks like they've ditched the whole white rims at the moment. Who knows? They might bring them back. I don't know if that's possible, but I quite like it. They've switched it, haven't they? They've like flipped everything from last year and gone, I like it. Let's go.
It's sort of it sits somewhere between the first car with its sort of white front wing and the second car, which had more of the dark blue along the side pods, and they've kind of like gone somewhere in the middle of those two designs. So it's a subtle evolution of what was already, I think, a very good looking design.
Yes.
I've always liked the look of these cars. I'm pretty sure at the end of 2020 it was my favorite livery of the year.
Yeah.
So I did really like that car. I do hope that they color those wheel covers. I would like to see those wheel covers in that white again. That'd look really good. But I hope that they keep evolving it as well, because it's a really nice design. But I don't want them to do what Red Bull do and just find a finishing point and then not touch it again for years.
That'll be done. Yeah.
But
No,
I do really like
it.
this livery. I think it looks very, very clean, and you can tell that there's like a fashion conscious side of this brand. It really kind of comes through in its very sleek and smart design, which was immediately obvious when they brought it out in the first place. So I think it looks really good, and I guess I think they have. I'm not sure if they're going to change the sort of paint type, because obviously some teams, they've kept like the same colors, but they've maybe gone for a slightly more metallic or glossier kind of look. Like, for example, Aston Martin, they seem to have changed up the way that the paint, what kind of paint it is, because it just seems to sparkle and bring out the color a little bit more in natural light. But I wonder if maybe they will do that as well.
Because at the moment it looks quite matte, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the white was a bit glossier on the earlier ones, and it seems to have become a bit more matte as time has come on. So I wonder if this will be an even more matte kind of color. But the only way to know is when we actually see the thing for real. So we just have to wait until then, really.
Hopefully some pictures come out in that private pre-season testing. I'm sure there'll be photographers everywhere, and hopefully, as much as I don't like leaks of cars online, and I know apparently the Ferrari's being leaked ahead of time, and I haven't looked at it, quite like to watch the reveal. But next week or the week after, when we do, then they do that private test in Barcelona, is it? Are they going to Barcelona first? Is that the private one?
Yes, that you're talking about the sort of the everyone getting together for the private one, yeah.
Yes, hopefully that's when I hope some photos do get leaked, because I want to see what these cars look like on track and see what's happening behind those closed doors.
If not, there'll be somebody who's like climbed on top of something and There's a sort of awkward through mesh fence sort of camera angle of somebody going past with all blurry. Yeah. I'm sure we'll get at least that. Somebody will sneak in, I'm sure.
Fingers crossed. All it takes is a drone, really, doesn't it? That's all it takes nowadays is just a drone and a good timed drone, and we're done. We've got all the footage we need.
Real nightmare to organise that sort of stuff. I mean, they can't keep it private. Surely that's just impossible.
It's a conversation for a whole different podcast if we want to go down that route. Like, we're not happy about the whole private test. I don't care if reliability is going to be a problem. Just let us see these cars on track. We're Formula One fans. I mean, blimey, I paid lots of money for Sky Sports F1 per year. Let me put it to good use. I can't have another month where I don't use the F1 channel. It's not worth it at the moment.
Yeah.
But that aside, hopefully you get some photos of this because I think it will look really smart on track.
There it is then, the AlphaTauri AT03. Do send us your thoughts or questions to us. What do you think of this livery? Do you think that it's a sort of modern classic or not really your thing? What do you make of the video? I really like the sort of weirdness of AlphaTauri's launch videos. Shane's not much of a fan. What do you think? Do send us your thoughts at RacePerMinute on Twitter. You can also get in touch at RacePerMinute.com and comment below if you're on YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to give us a rating or a like. Absolutely obliterate that like button. And if you like what we do, then please consider subscribing for more wherever it is that you're getting Race Per Minute. And if you really want to support the show, the best way to do that is to go to patreon.com/RacePerMinute, where you can donate as little as £1 a month to help the podcast keep going. And just get yourself some lovely rewards and support the show, keep us ad-free, etc. We really appreciate that, and appreciate everyone who's been listening and commenting on our episodes so far. So, Shane, up next, and we're actually going to record this straight after this one. We're going to be talking about Williams, aren't we? So, looking forward to having a chat about what hopefully will represent a continued rise for the British team. Did you have any particular sort of expectations of that? Because you presumably will have watched the launch now. So,
I have.
Without revealing anything for our Williams episode, did you have any particular expectations for that?
I didn't think it would change as much as it has done. And I'm still quite undecided about how I feel about it.
Okay.
So find out next time.
Yeah. To hear out exactly what we think about that, then you'll have to tune into our next episode where we talk about the Williams. But thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.